Hello and welcome to another episode of ESG series. Today I am going to introduce to an interesting topic on nurturing communities, social stewardship in ESG perspective. The social pillar of ESG is steadily gaining in prominence in India as companies realize their wider role in society beyond profit. Key social parameters include labor rights, working condition, diversity and inclusion, community upliftment, and consumer protection. India has enshrined extensive labor rights and protections in Factories Acts, Minimum Wage Acts, Contract Labor Act, and other legislations. Standards exist for workplace safety, minimum wages, hours of working, social security benefits, collective bargaining, and more. Companies are increasingly auditing facilities and suppliers to ensure compliance. Leading firms are providing additional benefits like health insurance, retirement plans, and medical check to promote worker welfare beyond legal minimums. Investing in training and upskilling also empowers employees. Strict zero tolerance policy towards any child labor or forced labor childs are imperative. Ensuring safe, healthy, and inclusive workplace is rising as a priority area. Providing creche for newborn children's policies against the sexual harassment and amenities for the disabled employees foster diversity. Confidential grievance redressal system which gives employee a voice, educating staff on wellness, mental health, and work-life balance is gaining prominence. Giving back to communities they operate in allow companies to create shared values. Initiatives like healthcare camps, supporting local business, skill training, livelihood mission, sanitation drives, and disaster relief aid societal progress. Strategies for corporate social responsibility or corporate environmental responsibility projects that align with the core competency make a lasting impacts. Responsible marketing, transparent communication, data privacy, fair pricing, and quick redressal for consumer complaints are other key aspects for social responsibility. Stringent quality control and safety testing of product is vital. Thus, India's robust legislation combined with evolving volunteer action by ethical companies are strengthening the social pillar within the ESG. Growing awareness of the strong business case of social responsibility is an encouraging trend. Workers, communities, and consumers are all stakeholders. To truly embedded social consciousness in corporate DNA, companies must go beyond compliance to create a value for all. In the reliance of sustainable business practice, the environmental, social, and governance framework has emerged as a beacon of hope. The S in ESG, representing the social, is a testament of the growing consciousness of companies toward the social issues. This slide dwells into the significance of the social aspect in the ESG framework of India. The social in ESG pertains to the company's commitment to worker welfare and their rights. It is no longer a peripheral concern but a core business strategies. Companies are investing in their workforce, ensuring fair wages, safe working conditions, and respect of labor rights. They are recognizing that a content and secure workforce is integral to long-term success. Today, companies are more conscious of broader social issues like poverty reduction, hunger eradication, health and well-being, quality education, and gender equality. These issues, once considered the sole responsibility of governments or NGOs, are now being embraced by the corporate sector. Companies are stepping up, realizing their role in shaping a more equitable society. Social programs are evaluated through inputs, process, output, and outcome indicators as identified by the United Nations 7 Sustainable Development Goals indicators as shown in the slide. These indicators represent the social issue within and outside the commercial entity, ensuring the financial viability of the money spent for the social program. The reach of these programs extended beyond the confines of manufacturing unit. They permeates the resident community surrounding the manufacturing center, fostering a symbiotic relation between the company and the community. Companies are not just creating a job, they are building community, driving local economy, and contributing to the societal well-being. Overall, the social in ESG is a powerful force driving sustainable business practice in India. It reflects a shift in the corporate ethos from profit-centric to people-centric, from growth to any cost to sustainable and inclusive growth. The social in ESG is not just about doing good, it is about doing well by doing good. In the ever-evolving landscape of sustainable investment and corporate responsibility, the S in ESG holds a profound significance in India. Social factors are at the core of this framework, encompassing a company's approach to social interaction, welfare, capacity building, work management, and human rights. Beyond the corporate walls, it emphasizes relations with the employees, customers, suppliers, communities, and the broader political environment. Let's delve into the essence of the S in ESG and understand how it aligns with India's business principle. At the heart of the S in ESG is a company's commitment to fostering the positive relationship. These relationships extend beyond mere transactions. They represent the fabrics of the company's existence. It begins with the treatment of employees. Principle 3, as defined by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, emphasizes the importance of respecting and promoting the well-being of all employees, including those in value chain. In a rapidly changing world, employee welfare transcends traditional notions of salary and benefit. It includes creating a safe, inclusive, and motivating work environment, fostering personal and professional growth, and acknowledging the diverse talent and perspective of the workforce. Respecting and promoting human rights, as articulated in Principle 5, is another cornerstone of social in ESG. Companies must not only adhere to international human rights standards but also take a proactive steps to ensure that their operations do not infringe upon the rights of the employees, suppliers, or the community in which they operate. This principle recognizes that companies bear a responsibility to safeguard human dignity and equality, irrespective to their geographic location or industry. Principle 8 underscores the role of business in promoting inclusive growth and equitable development. It acknowledges that the company's success should not come at the expense of the wider community. Companies must engage with the social communities in a manner that benefits both parties, thereby contributing to sustainable development growth. These principles align with the broader goal of achieving economic prosperity without compromising social and environmental well-being. ESG brings a clarity and accountability to these principles by translating them into quantifiable goals and performance indicators. It takes concepts like sustainability and social responsibility and transforms them into tangible actions and measurable outcomes. Companies must set targets related to worker welfare, human rights, and inclusive growth and regularly assess their progress. This not only guides their action but also allows investors and stakeholders to track their commitment to social responsibility. Social factors in ESG encompasses not only the relation within a company but also those outside it. Companies are expected to manage their relation with the customer, consumer, suppliers, and financial stakeholders with the integrity and transparency. Furthermore, they must actively engage with the local communities in which they operate, recognizing the interdependence and the impact they have on each other's well-being. In conclusion, I can say that the S in that is social in ESG is a testament to India's commitment to responsible, sustainable business practice. It goes beyond the superficial, philanthropic, and token gesture of corporate social responsibility. It dwells deep into the fabric of the company interaction, relationship, and responsibility. By adhering to the principle that promotes employees' well-being, human rights, and inclusive growth, companies in India are not just seeking profit, they are actively contributing to the betterment of society. ESG, with its quantifiable goals and performance indicators, serve as a compass guiding business towards a future where profits and purpose coexist harmoniously, creating a more equitable and sustainable world for all. Now let me explain you approaches of social framework in ESG. The social melee in ESG in India is largely engulfed with the three approaches as perceived in the Constitution of Republic of India. In India, the welfare approach views inclusive development as a public's good that the state must provide like education or healthcare. This approach believes providing essential welfare services can alleviate poverty and empower the marginalized. Under the ESG, companies embrace the ethos by supplementing the government efforts to uplift vulnerable communities. Initiatives like nutrition program, mobile health camps, skill training, and livelihood creations are supplied through collaborative efforts between the corporate, non-profit, and communities. Companies act as an enabler to invest financial resources and expertise to expand social security and opportunity. By supporting welfare services that develop human capital and reduces inequality, companies align with the India's development needs. This emphasis on equitable access to basic services reflects the nation's constitutional values and social pillar of ESG. Welfare thereby ceases to be just a state responsibility, rather combine the public-private effort, foster inclusive growth where companies look beyond profits to enable lives and livelihood. The right-based approach in India ESG framework views development as interconnected with the human rights. It emphasizes the state obligation to strengthen the vulnerable group by enabling self-sufficiency. Companies supplement these efforts by aligning social programs with a right lens. Initiatives like accessible education, healthcare services, fair wages, and inclusion aims to uphold dignity and justice. Besides meeting basic needs, companies focus on empowerment by building capacities of self-determination, skilling youth and women, supporting farmer-producer organizations, and incubating green enterprises create avenue for economic participation. By considering vulnerable communities as right holders entitled to equitable opportunities, companies act as an enabler to expand capabilities. This fulfills the constitutional value of equality and fraternity. The right-based approach thus catalyzes the development as freedom where equitable access to right and resource allows every individual to achieve their full potential and shape their destiny. Companies thereby fuse social progress with principles of liberty, justice, and solidarity. India's ESG framework aligned with the sustainable development approach of meeting present needs equitable without compromising the future. Industrialization and modernization have raised concern regarding resource depletion and environmental issues. Sustainable model demands integrating ecological effects into economic planning to uphold intergenerational equity. Companies in India supplement government efforts on sustainable development goals related to poverty, hunger, health, education, gender equality, and reduce inequality. Initiatives like nutrition program, renewable energy projects, livelihood creation, and skill development aims to uplift the marginalized while protecting the planet. By tracking progress through national indicators and SDG framework, companies ensured balanced social, economic, and environmental outcomes. This triple bottom line approach creates a shared value. Companies thus act as stewards who enable inclusive human progress through sustainable models that preserve natural capital for posterity. The sustainable development approach thereby provides an ethical compass for social pillar of ESG in India. Concluding, these three approaches define the scope of social in the ESG framework. Well, this slide discusses about the status of welfare and the right-based industries. We do have welfare and right-based approach in Indian industries, but its implementation is at stake. Environmental, social, and governance criteria have gained prominence as a way of companies to demonstrate responsible and ethical operation. For Indian factories, adopting ESG policy could significantly impact the welfare and the right of workers both within the premises and beyond. Within the factory premises, ESG components like occupational health and safety directly improve the physical workers' welfare. Indian factories implementing strictly safety standards, machine safeguard, protective equipments and training programs in the line with the ESG framework would vastly reduce on-job injuries and fatalities. Proper ventilation, noise reduction and chemical hazard protection also falls under the ESG umbrella. ESG standards for workers' rights within the factories advocate freedom of association, collective bargaining and alternative dispute resolution mechanism. Indian companies allowing and collaborating with the independent trade unions under ESG would support labor advocacy and self-determination. ESG also pushes equal opportunity and anti-discrimination, pressing factories to address gender pay gaps, promote women to management roles, and install protections against the harassment. Beyond factory walls, ESG focuses on the supply chain ethics, aims to improve welfare and the rights even for informal workers. Factory sourcing from home-based produce could provide training, ensure fair pay, and give benefits like health insurance otherwise absent. Companies embracing ESG would also take steps to eliminate child and forced labor among the suppliers. Practices like responsible downsizing and surveillance policy would be applied to contract workers as well. Broader community development and engagement under ESG also uplift factory workers' families' access to education, healthcare, safe housing, and other services. Pollution control contribute to the healthier environment inside and outside the factory. Transition assistance helps workers adapt the environmental or technological change affecting job. In essence, the ESG represents the holistic model whereby corporations integrate broader worker and community welfare, not just shareholders' financial interests. Although adopting ESG has cost, Indian factory taking this approach can drive positive change for labor rights and human development. With proper internal accountability and auditing mechanism, ESG standard could be path to uplift Indian factory workers in the line of principles of ethics, sustainability and human rights. Now let us discuss the problems of implementing social parameters in ESG framework. While India has made strides in implementing the social parameters of ESG, several challenges present roadblock into the effective implementation. First is lack of awareness and understanding. Many companies, particularly smaller ones, lack sufficient understanding of the importance and intricacies of ESG, especially the social pillar. This leads to superficial compliance or neglecting it altogether. The second is related to data inconsistency and lack of standardization. Measuring social impact can be complex and standardized metrics are often lacking. Companies may use different methodology, making comparison and evaluating progress difficult. Third is the inadequate enforcement mechanism. While regulation like the Companies Act mandate CSR spending, monitoring and enforcement mechanisms remain weak. This incentivizes greenwashing of tokenistic efforts instead of genuine social impact. Another is informal sector challenges. A significant portion of India's workforce operates in the informal sector, making it difficult to reach them with a social initiative and ensure their rights are protected. While another is related to skill gap and capacity deficit. Implementing effective social programs requires specific skill and expertise. However, there is often gap between the needed and available expertise, particularly in areas like impact assessment and the community engagement. Another is fragmented and solid approach. Social initiatives are often treated as separate activities rather than integrated into the business strategies. This leads to limited impact and missed opportunity for synergy with the other ESG pillars. Sustainability concern of many CSR initiatives focus on immediate needs or short-term projects, neglecting the long-term sustainability and community capacity building. This can create dependency and hinder lasting positive change. Another is related to resistance to change. Traditionally, mindset within both companies and communities can resist changes or view societal initiative with the suspicion. Addressing these concerns through effective communication and engagement is very crucial. Corruption and unethical practice. Instances of corruption within the CSR implementation can erode trust and hinder genuine social impact. Robust accountability mechanism and transparency are vital to address these issues. Despite these challenges, there are promising efforts to overcome them. Initiatives like capacity building program, collaboration platform, and technological-driven solutions are emerging to improve data collection, reporting, and impact measurement. Additionally, increased awareness and stakeholder pressures are pushing companies to take the social pillar of ESG more seriously. Now let us discuss setting up an industry. Over the years, a key insight in the development of industrial projects, whether they are categorized as a green or a brown project, is the initial step of an industry establishment. These steps typically involve land acquisition, recruitment of local skilled and unskilled labor, securing power supply from the local grid station, and arranging water sources through municipal connection, industrial pipeline, or bore well. Such activities often disrupt the ecological balance of the region. Industry proponents justify these actions as a necessary for boosting the nation's economy or gross domestic product, sometimes overlooking the associated social culture and environmental consequences. This process frequently leads to infringement in two distinct realms of the regional social culture fabric within the factory premises and in the surrounding community. The specific issue within the factory premises will be detailed in the subsequent slide. However, I would like to highlight the attached figure with illustrated in the slide. The core and the buffer zone extended 5 and 10 km respectively from the factory or the project site. This depiction is significant for understanding the project area of influencing, establishing baseline survey data, and assessing the impact on biotic and abiotic factors due to the project operations and their effects. One requirement for industries is allocation of the 2% corporate social responsibility budget or the specified budget in corporate environmental social responsibility within the project associated region, specifically with the radial distance of 10 km from the project site. While medium and small scale industries may engage in such activity with a varying level of commitment, observation indicates that some larger companies, particularly with the pan-India presence, tends to give minimal attention to this obligation. They often execute these activities based on their preference or willingness, providing justification to sidestep the mandatory project specification conditions. Now in this slide, I am sharing my experience as a part of a team member being an environmental and social expert for nearly 200 environment impact assessment projects done under the National Accreditation Board for Education and Training in association with the Quality Council of India. For each project, the observation is based on the both quality and quantitative and then rating their probability of implementing it under the 4 categories as high with a dark green, sustainable with a light green, moderate with a brown, and low with red. Today, the business sustainability approach for the social factor under the ESG framework of India covers product responsibility, that is manufacturing, developing, packaging, labeling, raw material supply, that is quality after recycling, logistic support system related to the packaging and transportation, and related good practices. However, industries are now more inclined to product responsibility and logistic support systems. As a matter of labor welfare, a scheme is being witnessed largely under the Factory Act, while the services set up for basic needs has a moderate to low response. This observation was restricted to medium and small scale industry, while the right-based approach by and large is implemented. However, the scale varies as per the type and how big is the industry setup. Now, looking at the human right aspect, there is a gross violation of working hours followed by the establishment of the female grievance cell. Restriction of minimum age to work is seriously considered and is considered while recruiting the factory workforce. Overall, a mixed response is noted for the social indicators under the ESG framework. Thus, with the potential for implementation of social parameters under the ESG framework, India needs a continued focus on raising awareness, strengthening regulation, improving data availability and standardization, and fostering the collaborative approach that ensures sustainable and impactful social development. Continuing from the previous slide, though our country has the right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition, rehabilitation and resettlement of 2013 Act, there is always a conflicting situation arising out of the acquisition of land, its compensation or solatium paid to the affected or displaced family, especially for the big project, while medium and the small scale industry much practiced manipulation and adjustment with the local influence leading to injustice and inequality in the society among have and have-nots. Some industries are exceptional in this regard and create a success story parallel with the social cause or need as a corporate business responsibility towards social and environmental aspects under the designated budget of corporate social or environmental responsibility. Another interesting aspect is related to the community need assessment survey, which is either overlapped or articulated or manipulated to only the supply side rather than understanding the demand side of the resident community in the radial distance of 10 km from the factory site at the factory location. Social licensing to work in the designated area of the development project should be largely as a priority for the local workforce. However, the contractual manpower supply at the majority discards the local and focuses a huge migration of the skilled and unskilled workers from other parts of the country. This creates ambiguity and distress among the local, creating a point of conflict. Despite the rules and regulation under the factory and other welfare or right laws, their implementation is highly fragmented approach by making the social factor extend beyond the confines of the corporate office to address the critical societal challenges. However, with the advent of the ESG concept in India, countable listed entities have now compelled companies to reassess their responsibilities beyond their financial bottom line to actively contribute to the betterment of the society at large. Thus, today in India, corporate sector has taken center stage and rapidly evolving business landscape to the concept of sustainability. Though the pace of change is slow, now the corporate world is no longer evaluated solely based on their financial performance. Rather, they are increasingly scrutinized for their commitment to environmental, social and governance factors. Well, this is a great beginning for Indian industry in India. Now let us discuss a way out gearing up the challenges of the word social in ESG. The integration of social aspect within the ESG framework in India faces several challenges to which some suggestions are herein discussed. First is diverse socio-economic context. India's vast socio-economic diversity make it challenging to create a standardization social criteria that are applicable across different region and community. This diversity requires a nuanced approach to social issues taking into account local customs, needs and challenges. Second is related to measurement and reporting. Quantifying social impact is inherently complex. Unlike environmental metrics which can be measured more tangible, social metric often involves qualitative assessment such as employee satisfaction or community impact. This makes it difficult to standardize reporting and measures progressively effectively. Thus, social audit should be given equal weightage along with the financial audit impact assessment. To quantify social impact, an indicator-based approach should be done using input, process, output And finally, outcome as a social audit indicators. Third is related to regulatory compliance and enforcement. India's regulatory environment around social issues within business is evolving. Ensuring compliance with the various regulations and enforcement thereof can be challenging for companies, especially when policies and guidelines are subject to change. Balancing profit and social goals. Business often struggle to balance profitable and social goals. The pressure to generate financial returns can sometimes overshadow social objectives, leading to a comprehensive in social responsibility. Another is related to cultural attitude and awareness. There can be lack of awareness of resistance to social initiative within the corporate culture. Changing mindset and attitudes toward the social responsibility is a gradual process and requires both top-down and bottom-up approach within the organization. Resource allocation. Allocating resources for social initiatives can be challenging, especially for a smaller business with limited budgets. There is often a conflict between short-term financial pressures and long-term social investment. Another is related to stakeholder engagement. Effectively engaging various stakeholders, including employees, customers, suppliers, and local community, is crucial but challenging. Different expectations and interests need to be managed while aligning them within the company's social objective. Scalability and sustainability. Initiatives that work well on the small scale face challenges when scaled up, particularly in maintaining their social impact. Furthermore, ensuring the sustainability of these initiatives over the long term is a significant challenge. Today, there is a need for more robust social metrics. To date, lack of standardization metrics to demonstrate social returns of investment hard to convince social holders to focus on the financial returns. Addressing these challenges requires a multifaceted approach involving collaboration between business, government, and civil society, and a commitment to continuous learning and adaptation. Taking the lead from this, my next presentation will be on balancing acts, the social elements in ESG stewardship. So stay tuned for next week for continuing with this interesting topic.